Awesome. All right, we're ready to go. Welcome to the Hip Hop Hustle podcast. I've got two fantastic artists on the show with me. It's the first time we've done two artists at the same time, but it would be a surprise if I did one at a time. It's 80 Empire. We've got Adrian and Lucas, obviously brothers as well, which I personally love. I've got two brothers, so I love that bond in general.
Awesome.
But yeah, a pleasure to have them on the show. They've done some amazing work. They've produced for a lot of artists. They've worked with a lot of artists. Personally, some of my favorites, King Crooked. They've got Conway. They've got Benny the Butcher. They've got John Connor, who I interviewed on the show as well. The list goes on and on. And what I'm really impressed by is that you guys really don't stick to one particular style of music. You really bend in and out.
Yeah, we like to experiment with different things and kind of like bridge, the love. Like even with this album, some of it's, there's a lot of boom bap, but then there's some old school like there's some trappy elements to some of the records. There's reggae. There's like some real kind of root stuff with hardcore. You know what I mean? So it's and then there's like West Coast flavor and East. So we kind of amalgamate all the loves that we have of hip hop and kind of fuse it all into one album.
Yeah, I mean, you guys did a fantastic job. Like, I literally couldn't help but admire going from like a classic hip hop beat to a reggae track. And the first two tracks I've been obsessed with. Literally, I have just had them on repeat. They are just awesome, going on and on. And KRS-One features in the very first track of the album. How was that process of getting KRS on it? And like, I just imagine dream come true.
It really was, man. We have to thank Almighty 80. He calls himself the Almighty A&R extraordinaire. Mark Markup at M80, and he helped to broker the deal with this project for Fat Beats. But then he's like, "Hey guys, man, who is someone a dream person you'd want to get on?" And we listed some names. He goes, "Would you want to get KRS-One?" So, Luke, I'll let you continue the story after that. But it's just incredible for us.
Well, it was a no-brainer. We're like, yeah, So he's like, give me. We only sent one beat. It was the beat we had. We just said, you know what? We have this track that's kind of start the album with like in your face, like with somebody as iconic, especially with the album being called Anthems and Icons. We said, what better way to start the album, And it was just like, it literally was like, here's the beat. And all we heard was, yo, he loves it. Did the hook. And then Adrian did his verse. And then he came back with his second verse to finish it off. So it was just the hook at first. And we were like, when we heard that, da 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 shit, we were like,
we were literally jumping around the studio going da 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 da, da. Like we were going nuts.
Yeah. So he fed off of that, and then we got the verse after the hook because we added, us in the background going da 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 shit, like that classic kind of, what I mean, hip hop, like that essence of boom bap.
And when I heard KRS's verse, I'm like, I have to come up with something. Like it's got to be really good. I can't half-ass it. And I don't want to get into too much details, but May I went into our whole family got COVID, but I actually went into the hospital with COVID and I had a collapsed lung, pneumonia, blood clots, all these complications. So I still had a collapsed lung, but so that's why at the end I'm like, even with the even with the collapsed lung, I am more magnificent. So I just like. It sounds kind of cliche and funny, but it really was mind over matter. I'm like, I can't use this as a crutch right now and not deliver a verse when we have KRS-One, the teacher. So I'm like, I found that strength, man. Literally, like I pulled it inside me. I'm like, I have to do this, man. Even though my lungs and my chest and everything is in pain. I mean, I was out of the hospital, but I still had that pain. My voice was like this, and I just found the will to do it, man. So.
Yeah, and then we got DJ Eclipse to do the cuts, and it just added that last like element that we were looking for to kind of finish the track really nicely. So,
well, man, I mean, I'm surprised that anyone has to even ask, would you want KRS-One? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
who, if you're a hip hop head, or like, even if you're not even a hip hop head, you know what he's done for the genre,
Right.
the industry. Like, I feel like it's like KRS wants to do this, or he's available, sign him up. There's no questions asked.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I'm like, yeah, that was kind of the thing. Like, do you even have to ask? You know what I mean? Kind of the, not to jump, but the same kind of idea happened with Corrupt, because we already had the MC8 verse, and same cat M80 was like, yeah, he goes, you know, we could get like, let's get Corrupt on the album, and I said, well, I got a couple of tracks ideas we have, and I go, we have this one called Walk with the Giants with MC8. He goes, well, why are you sending me the other two tracks? We already know what track he's going to want to jump on. The one called Walk with the Giants with MC8. Like, that's a no-brainer. So we sent it to him, and he just came back with like woo, like you know, Corrupt's just like, and you can hear it in the track. Like,
sorry to cut you off, Luke. We like to cut each other off a lot. Aaron, we got to tell you this story because I think you'll like this little anecdotal story. So, obviously, we got the album cover, Anthems and Icons. Shout out to our brother Matt Smith, There Be Monsters, who does all of our artwork and stuff for 80 Empire and Gladiator. But he sent us the cover of Walk with the Giants, because the day that the album came out on all the DSPs, Walk with the Giant also came out as a single along with the album. But we wanted, you know, we were down to the wire, like, you know, maybe like a week before or 2 weeks before, rather.
2 weeks before.
And we have the artwork. And then so we sent it to Corrupt, and they're like, right away, yo, green light, you know, the thumbs up. Luke sends it to MC8, and I kid you not, he emails Lucas back, and the email was Gia. So his trademark, Gia. That's how he replied. And then Lucas is like, dope, man. Okay, so we're gonna put it on all the DSPs. And then he wrote back, official. So
yeah,
it's like 2 to 4, man. Even in email, MC8 is the same cat. He's on gangster. The street in an email. It's, you know, on record.
Yeah, I just went, hey man, here's the album work. You know, what do you think? Can we get your approval? He goes, Gia. I'm like, go. Sent back, wicked, man. It comes out this day. He goes, straight official. Official. I was like, yo, but that's hip hop, right? Like, Aaron, you can appreciate, like, for us, that's why, those are the things why we love what we do, and getting the love from legends like KRS and Corrupt and MC8 and Crooked Eye, like this is why we do what we do, because I get excited over a simple word. That means like, yo, I fucks with you. Like, yes, that shit's dope. So for us, when these guys have worked with, they're legends themselves, but have also worked with legendary people like Corrupt was in, the Dog Pound and Snoop and Dre. And, you know, I say people who don't know hip hop, even if they don't know the name Corrupt, all you got to say is Snoop Dogg, and they'll go, oh, I know that song. Oh yeah, that song is great in the clubs, la da 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 da. Like, you know what I mean? So to get that same kind of energy on Walk with the Giants, to get KRS-One, where people are going, yo, this is like prime KRS. This is like old KRS, like shit we love hearing him on your track in 2021. That's what inspires us to keep writing music, keep going, keep doing this, because we're like, look at us. The music brought us three here today, which is so cool to me. This is cool. This is hip hop. This is part of the culture, which is wicked.
Well, to be honest, I love it. Like, what I didn't realize before I started the podcast was how rappers actually are. Like, there's a difference between, there are some rappers who have a persona and they put on a bit of a show, but then when you speak to them, they're actually like normal people. And there are other rappers who are exactly who they are on stage. Exactly. And it's so interesting to see the difference between the two. Cause like, it's just, you just can't plan it. There are some rappers who are organized and on time, and then others who are just exactly what you would think is they don't know what time is, and they just rock up when they rock up. Like, I interviewed Eric G, and he's a fantastic producer, but he was literally like, schedules fuck with my vibe. So I don't do schedules. Message me on the day. And so like, it was like, and I'm really scheduled. I hate that. But I was like, you know what? this is just the industry. You got to kind of live with it.
Yeah. You have to learn to adapt. I know we've been like that too. Like, like certain things, like a show is supposed to start, at 10 o'clock, and then we don't end up going on till 1 o'clock, and it's just like, but we've learned to adapt. It's difficult because, again, we're artists, but we're producers, so we're used to kind of things. Okay, we got to submit this on time and blah, blah, blah. But we've learned to kind of adapt to different situations. And even with certain, like, even most of the people that we work with, people give things in a timely fashion. Like, we're like, hey guys, this is a deadline. But with certain cats that we know how they operate, if we know like we need it in 2 weeks, we really tell them we need it 4 weeks earlier. So, because we know it's going to be, that 4 weeks is going to be late, but at least we still get it. But if we tell them the exact date, then it is going to be late. So we've, it's a little bit of chess. Some days it's chess, some days it's checkers. But
Dub C was the same. Like, talking to him on the phone was incredible. Like, actually, it was inspirational talking to him, and he's such a big
West Side Connection.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and his presence, right? Because he's such
that's the track. Sorry to cut you off. That's the track. Left, right, left.
Yeah, we reviewed West Side Connection on this podcast. Actually, we reviewed the full album of West Side Connection, and
that's dope.
And I'm generally not a West Coast person. I generally stick to East Coast, but that album is absolute bangers. They went so hard.
Incredible. It's incredible, and same kind of thing with MC8, but I got a number. This was way back in early April or mid-April. I got a call from a area code from California, but I didn't pick it up.
Luke.
Sorry?
You said MC8, Dub C.
No, sorry, Dub C. No, but I'm saying the same kind of energy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. And I didn't pick I missed the call. I was doing something, whatever, and I saw the call. Nobody left a message. So I thought, okay, you get wrong numbers all the time, whatever. But I knew that the area code was California. So a couple of days later, I sent the text, said, hey, sorry, I got this number. I didn't answer it. I missed the call. Is this Dub C? Just curious. And literally within 5 minutes, I hear the reply is West Up. And it was like, it was classic, like the shit that I loved about West Side Connection and his Ghetto Heisman album and stuff like that. The skip, all that kind of like his, it was him. And then we got on a call, and then when we talked to him, it was just so cool to hear him go, I'm inspired by the track and what your brother's doing and the verse, and let's do it. And that's why when you hear his lyrics and you hear him go, this is more than a feature. A lot of people are resonating with that, where, some guys you're gonna work with that, they do the verse, they're on to the next thing, and that's it. And there's some that really feel the records or the songs you give them. Like, everybody that's part of Anthems and Icons really brought their A game and really.
I was just gonna say that everybody that's on this album, the album is special because we completed this album even in the face of adversity, with first of all a pandemic, but then like being on the front lines of it, getting sick and being hospitalized, and how it affected our children and our families, but still having the strength. That's why even like the Theo Rossi interlude, with him talking about, like, once you believe in you become unstoppable. And it does sound funny, but it is true. Like, life throws you so many curveballs, and if you believe that you can overcome it, you will, because we're constantly being thrown, slingshotted shit like all across the world right now with this pandemic. But people go through even struggles minus the pandemic. People go through financial, people get diseases, people lose their jobs, people fall out of love, this and that. But with this album, man, it's so special. Like what Lucas was saying, back to like the MC8 anecdotal stories and the Dub Cs, everybody that's on this album really was meant to be on the album, and they really love the music, whatever type of exchanges were exchanged, because sometimes an exchange is a love exchange. Like, man, I love what y'all do, let's do it. And sometimes like, I love what y'all do, but I also need a bag, but regardless of the monetary or non-monetary situation in this album, everybody really love the records they were on. And that's the beauty of it, because it's horrible, like putting a project together and like, you know, deep down that half these people you're never going to see again or don't give a shit about it. Like we have a lot of videos from the majority of the people from the album too, congratulating us and stuff. So it's just a rewarding feeling, you know?
Definitely. I mean, I actually think there's one rapper who's probably one of the greatest rappers of all time, but I feel like he now just does features for the bag, and that's okay. But I can definitely tell, like Method Man, I feel like he's doing a lot of features with artists I've never heard before, but that's because I think they're pulling money together. They're getting him. He still does his Method Man stuff, but like you can definitely hear it when an artist isn't in love with the project, or they're just doing it because it's like their career. It's their next, it's just part of the journey. I don't know. It's weird when you hear a rapper that's not really as passionate as they were.
It's true.
I agree.
Like DMC, like Lucas has spoke with DMC tons of times. Like he was on another podcast that my brother, it's a friend of my brother's in Florida. And my brother's buddy said, "Hey, Luke, why don't you tune in? Because I know you have this new album coming on and I know DMC is on it." When Luke's buddy announced that Luke, "Hey, yo, it's Luke from Indie Empire," DMC's face legitimately lit up. And that to me is like that's a better feeling than if someone said, "Yo, here's the keys to a Lamborghini," because that's replaceable. You know what I mean? Like that's replaceable.
I'd sell the Lamborghini and buy studio equipment. That's what I do. I would. I would honestly probably would sell it and buy like a Neve or an SSL board, nice mixing console. You know what I mean? Like that's just, yeah. Sorry, Adrian, I cut you off.
No. But it was just like you could see the passion and like the excitement in DMC, like the King of Rock, like Run DMC are like the godfathers of this shit. And they've done and seen it all. And they've not only seen and done it all, but they've inspired everybody. You know, like Eminem, anybody who does hip hop, who's like in their 30s or in their 40s, and possibly even in their late 20s, they're inspired by Run DMC or LL Cool J. And then after them, it's, you know, it's the Eminems, it's the Dr. Dre's, it's the NWAs, so it's great to get that reception from the architects of this shit, because Lucas and I are so respectful of this art form. And so for us, it's just like, man, it's like, it's just like, a black belt Taekwondo master acknowledging that, okay, you guys are like, we're the Jedis and you guys are like Jedis. We're acknowledging that you can be in this fraternity of Jedis. Like it's the biggest fulfillment I think that as a musician and someone involved in hip hop could feel, you know?
Yeah, I feel the same way, that like there is a big difference between, I've done interviews and you can feel that they're distracted, or you can feel that they're just doing it because it's what they got to do. Yeah. Versus there's people like yourselves who are like engaged and who are like keen to do it. And it's a different feeling. And it's like, and you can, and even just people you get along with, like it's been a dream come true to be able to talk to people like yourselves. Like for me, it's like, I remember like listening to hip hop at school, being the only kid being into hip hop. None of my friends were into it. I found 2 friends that love it now, but like, I remember that. And now to be like, I'm making it a dream come true to be able to talk to the people who make the interviews. It's like, I don't know. It's so crazy to me. And I imagine it's the same for you guys to be able to work with artists that you would have listened to their music long before you even spoke to them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think we're on a similar journey as you, because the same thing with us. Like, I mean, obviously we're born in Canada. Our background's Italian, and we grew up in an Italian suburb, just maybe 25 minutes away from Toronto. And most of the Italian kids, like, people liked hip hop when it was convenient, when it was the popular thing to do. But when breakdancing and all that shit was out of style, Lucas and I still remain monogamous to hip hop, and so we can relate, where we didn't have too many friends growing up who liked hip hop. They were just going with the fads. And Lucas and I, again, we remain.
Oh, we dressed
loyal
it
and
too.
faithful.
But I'm gonna grab it right now. I found this in my garage like a couple months ago, and I'm like, I was the only Italian kid wearing a red Everlast tracksuit, red Nikes, and the back, the fisherman hat, the and I was a kid, and I'd be like that, and everybody was like, listening to Pearl Jam and Metallica and great bands. But I was like, I was going to school like this, listening to Tribe Called Quest and like, and all these other.
We were walking around. Whose world is this?
It's
mine. It's mine. It's mine.
I would walk around with plaid, thinking I was in the Chronic album, like the original Chronic album before the 2001 Chronic. Like that shit. I would walk around like this, Italian kid. Fuck, you going like, and people go, "What the fuck are you?" I'm like, "You haven't heard of Dre Day?" Like, and then. Listening to like getting it like everybody when that Dre album came out, whether you were a south, north, east, west, when that Chronic album came out, holy, and then you fast forward, years later, we have Corrupt on a song doing that same kind of anthemic voice, and that's kind of where we sit here. Like it's like Christmas for us. Like every time we got a verse back, Aaron, it was like Christmas. For kids, like it was Adrian and I were like, I got the verse, come to the studio. And Adrian lives like a minute away with his wife and kids. So it's like easy thing. So it's like, come on, I got the verse, come here. I'm putting it in the track. They're like kids, you know what I mean? And that was the part that, even John, like you had mentioned, John Connor, when John did his verse, he came back to me and he goes, man, I lost my voice doing this, because what Adrian did in the beginning with the singing part and how deep it was, what he's talking about, John goes, I had to bring that energy in my rap. And I was yelling a lot of it because I was feeling like the fight, because even a guy like him, from being at the, with Aftermath, with Dre, the Compton soundtrack, all that, to kind of, back now again, starting back as an independent again, and building his way, obviously the fans that he's created will be diehard fans, but he's building his thing back up as an independent artist without that machine from Interscope and Dre and that, so he felt the energy, and that's where going back to, everybody really bringing their A game. Like when you hear him talk about his shit, like I teared up every time I heard certain verses, because it really made us feel like our journey over these years wasn't a waste of time. Like, well, you could never think that, but it was,
sort of cut Luke off. Like even with the KRS record, when he's like, record company Jake's, the Snakes. He goes, back aches, carrying your crates. I mean, I don't know exactly. I can't remember it exactly, but I'm like, Luke, like exactly like studio rates. All the shit that KRS said in that verse was has been Lucas and I's musical journey, getting screwed, paying our dues, carrying equipment up and down stairs, dealing with rats. Like this industry is littered with rats, and people like shake your hand one day, promise all this shit, and then the next day they disappear like the friggin' Phantom of the Opera, So it's like when KRS sent that verse, my brother and I are like, shit, this is destiny. Like this is like the universe now, man, making all of this shit happen for us. To have these guys rapping, like how they rapped it is we envisioned how it should have sounded, and it's just incredible, man. And it's baffling in a great way.
Yeah. I mean, I when I spoke to John, he was just the most genuine person. Like he's so open and so he's extremely in touch with his emotions, and he's extremely retrospective. And I was really surprised by that, because, his journey, and we kind of mentioned it, was 5 years with Dre on Aftermath. He's on Compton, but then he does an album, it doesn't drop. And instead of being bitter and angry, he's like, everything that would happen there led where I am here. And he's so positive, and it's like, you can really feel that energy when you speak to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's a great, he's not only he's talented, but he's just a good human being where, you know, you just like, there's certain people that you connect with, like even with like Crooked Eye, who's like a legend. I mean, when Eminem starts saying, you know, he's in his top 5 and he's his, you know, he's the most underrated rapper, you know, and every time, you know, in the last couple of albums Eminem has put out, you know, outside of them doing Slaughterhouse, you know, he's always on a track for Eminem. To have him like on the Fallen Angels, but like we've built a real friendship with Crooked Eye over the pandemic. We've never met, you know, just phone calls and you know,
we just had a phone call with him about a week ago. It was like an hour. Ago. What we thought was going to be a 10-minute, all of us, a 10-minute conversation ended up being an hour and a half conversation. So we all had to say to be continued, you know?
Yeah. But it's cool because like you said, like, you know, years ago, you're listening to these artists, you know, I'm listening to hip hop weeklies and all this stuff, these older stuff too, when he was, you know, his Death Row era, when he was signed there, and you're listening to all this stuff as a fan. And then all of a sudden the respect is reciprocated where, you know, we didn't pay him for a video. That video we put up maybe a week ago where he's saying, you know, 80 Empire is doing it the right way. They're doing it for the culture. That meant a lot to Adrian and I, because he doesn't have to say that. He could just, you know, he does his verse. What up, guys? You know, and I said, hey man, you know, he's like, no, I want to give you guys this video and give you your flowers. Like, to hear that from a guy like that, it goes back to what I was saying. It just makes you fucking feel good. Like, yeah, we're doing it the right way. You know, this is not fast food music for us. We want longevity in it, and we've been doing it a long time. So these are those little wins where we're going, you know what, we're on the right path because we have real legends and respectable lyricists in this game. Like when he heard I showed him the KRS-One record before it came out. And he goes, I love Adrian's verse because I know what he went through, because he was always messaging me how we were doing when we had COVID and when Adrian was sick. And he goes, so I know that shit's real. I know Adrian rapped that in the booth, right behind the camera, the laptop. I know he rapped it with a collapsed lung. That's what makes that shit hip hop and real. So that's cool getting those stripes from guys like that, you know, from generals, I call the generals in the game.
Well, also they know who's genuine and who's not. They've been around for long enough. And I think that there are a lot of people, like you said, there are a lot of people in the industry and in music in general who they see an opportunity to make money. They see an opportunity to make a name, or they see an opportunity to, you know, use the culture to project themselves up rather than the other way around, rather than like, let's add something to the space. Let's like, you know, give people a new voice, a new sound. Let's make something interesting. And so I think the legends, especially, they can hear the difference, or they can see the difference in the content that you're putting out. And, you know, it must be, you know, really good. Like you guys would have known already your intent is in the right place. But now that you've got people going, hey, you are doing the right thing, it just should just motivate you even more.
Yeah, it is. It is a great feeling, you know? And it just, like, even though, you know, you can have that affirmation within yourself, but having that stamp from you know what I mean? Like from these iconic people who have made anthemic music, it is really a great feeling, because for Lucas and I, we really are like about the art. You know what I mean? We really are about it. We really are about, you know, the art. Like, and I think we live in such a fast food world where people only give a shit about the likes and the views. And listen, part of that is important because part of that helps to funnel and fuel a business so you can go on and make a living financially off of it. But we really do this for the love of it, you know? It's just like for example, like Gorilla Nems. We've been listening to Nems for the past like 5 years, you know? And then we had him on another record for this other rapper from Buffalo, who this rapper wanted to get another rapper because he's like, I never heard of Nems. And we're like, no, trust us, man. Nems is dope. He's gutter. He started off as a battle rapper. And then when we did our album, we called Nems. Now all of the shit like is caught on TikTok, bing bong, and all this shit that he does. But like, we didn't get him on a record because, oh, yo, he's doing the bing bong. Like all this shit, all of this thing that he's capitalizing off the success of his bing bong, and it's gone viral. This happened during us making this album. Like the song was already done. And so even when we start promoting that song, it's just not like Lucas and I are not going to start going now bing bong and hopefully hoping that we can like, you know, like a leech attached to his success.
And plus, if we said it, we're Italian, it'd be binga bonga. It would have to be. Bonga.
No,
we'd have to add a little Italian accent in there somehow and make it a little more authentic.
Well, I think that would work. I actually think that would work if you went into the Italian market and I think you'd get a lot of hits from that.
Maybe we got to
binga bong,
binga da bonga, you know, or. Oh shit.
Oh man.
No, but you're able, like what you're saying is, well, another quick story was when we put out our last album, Legacy, you know, it was a bittersweet song called Fit In because Fred the Godsend had passed away. And I was talking with Fred via text and on a call. We were just about to start a project together, 80 Empire, Fred the Godsend, like an EP, maybe like 6-7 songs. And we were laughing about it because it was back in March, I think it was April, might have been April. And we were laughing about like, because he has a wife and 2 kids. So does Adrian and I, but I was talking to him about like, what are you and the wife doing tonight? Like, oh, we're going to Club Quarantine. It's the spare bedroom tonight. And then tomorrow it's the broom closet. And then, we're going to cafe, living room kind of thing. Yeah. And we were laughing about shit like that. And I'm like, hey man, check out these tracks. What do you think? He goes, I like these few. I'm going to start recording on them like next week. And then Monday came and we saw him, Instagram with a ventilator or, oxygen mask on. And, and then like, I think 2.5 weeks after that, he passed away because of COVID. And it was sad, but we already had his verse from a year before. And we talked about that was going to be the jump off, like put that record out for the Legacy project. And then, come out with an EP. But I reached out to the family and I said, look, we don't want to be those people like, I had a verse from Fred 6 years ago. I'm re-releasing it, look like some fucking like vultures trying to squeeze out something out of somebody's, terrible,
it's like when people
death.
Die and then people have to put the picture of themselves with that person to show that they had some connection. I don't know, man. It's just like it's
bad karma. It's just bad.
We live in a very distasteful time. Do
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Big L's The Big Picture. That's what it reminds me of, because we discussed this on this podcast as well. But our big critique was that there are songs and tracks that don't feel like Big L would have approved. It feels like there are verses that are not his best, but they were like cut from albums and then they threw them on, but then they got him on with Legends and the Legends murdered him. They got a chance. They listened to his verse. They come on. It just felt really manufactured. There's some really good tracks like Enemy with Fat Joe. That track is a killer, produced by Premiere. Like that is amazing, but there are so many tracks that I felt like they just threw it all together just to make some coin after his passing.
I agree with you. It was kind of like what was it? Marvin Gaye. They put out something a couple of years back, and I remember listening to it, and it was like, this is all the music that Marvin Gaye said no. These didn't make the album. Like Prince as well. There's a reason why, some of these icons didn't want this stuff out, because it wasn't even the best of the best. They're not all the best songs. So they were like, no. So I feel like you said, I feel like it's like they would have never agreed to this shit if they were alive. And that's why, like, Fred had rapped it. It was already a year old, the verse, but obviously we hadn't put it out yet. But, you know, I went to his wife and I went to the management and I said, look, I was talking to Fred. She goes, no, I know who you are. Like Fred, I mentioned you. I said, I you know, I wouldn't want to disrespect Fred's legacy, his name, or the family. We did talk about putting this out. And even if we make $5 on this, whatever we can give to the Fred Foundation, you know, for your family, that's what we'd want to do with the song. And they said, you have our blessing. And we became really good friends with his brother, who's keeping his legacy alive. Shout out to Russ. And, you know, and we might still have a Fred the Godson project in the, you know, future, like something to, like, you know, finish what we kind of started. But that would be, like you said, it was like,
we want to keep the integrity. If it was something that did come to fruition, you know, we would want to keep the integrity and not do what you just said, like with what happened to Big L. Some of the verses, like, you know,
you can hear it. Yeah, I agree with Aaron.
And that his legacy remains intact, and that if anything, we helped to you know, to
continue it,
to keep that legacy going, and not water it down and you know, fruit roll up it up.
Well, I think it all comes down to intention, and the project will speak for itself. So, like, you know, you can hear when a label is doing it to make squeeze the last bit of juice from the career. I mean, how many times do people have the best of? Michael Jackson had a best of album. Well, you don't need it because his catalog is best of. So that it's, you just know, like, especially if you're into music, like you guys are in the industry, you know, when they're pushing it out just for the sake of some extra cash, or they're just going, oh, we found these. Like, apparently Eminem has hundreds of tracks on the cutting room floor, but I imagine, you know, he will pass at some point. I'm hoping for for a very long time before he goes, but it would be really upsetting to me if he passed and then they went back and they just took a bunch of his old verses and a bunch of tracks and they put it all together, because he didn't green light it. Like,
I agree.
You want to protect their legacy.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree 100%.
Well, I did want to change tact a little bit, because something that intrigues me is your relationship as brothers, and obviously working together, because I got two brothers myself. I love my brothers, but I couldn't imagine working with them all the time, like, purely because you know each other so well. But I guess maybe that's why you work really well together. So I'm just intrigued by the dynamic and then how you guys agreed to really get on the same page, same vision, and then keep it going for so long.
Yeah, I think with us,
I hate him, but you know.
we joke and say we're the rap of Bert and Ernie. No, but I think with us, it's because we're able to finish each other's sentences, because we kind of know we for better or for worse, we get vibes off of people, and we're able to pick up on that. And we also can play different roles at different times, like good cop, bad cop. But also, to use the analogy of like American football, you know, sometimes I'm the quarterback and I initiate a situation like Anthems and Icons. I said, Luke, man, we put out Legacy. That's fine. And Danny, we need to put out an album even better than that. And I'm like, first, I think I said something like mythology. And Lucas is like, mythology? That's whack as shit. Like, what the hell is mythology? And then I'm like, yo, then the next day I'm like, what about Anthems and Icons? And he's like, that sounds dope. But then, so I'm the quarterback. But then Lucas is like the hip hop, like talent, like bounty hunter. He's a hip hop Boba Fett. And he's like, okay, we know this person. Let's email them or call them up. Say, yo, we have this song. Do you want to get on this record? We have this on that. And then, so he finishes it off. So sometimes I'm the quarterback and he's the receiver. Sometimes he's the quarterback and I'm the receiver catching the ball. And it just, we know when to jump in a, you know, and I know when to shut my mouth, and he knows when to be the bully or the mouth, and I know, and then vice versa. And I think that's why it's working for us.
And I also think, like, you know, having brothers, like, you know, sometimes like you can't tell an executive or somebody to fuck off like you'd like to, but you got to try to hold your composure. So telling each other to, you know, screw off, you kind of get it out. and it's like we're brothers. So I could tell him like, fuck, you know what, fuck off. I'm not, hanging the phone up, and then you get that funny emoji back, and you're like, okay, we're good. Like we understand each other. We trust each other implicitly because we're brothers. But we both, it's great because Adrian's not a beat. Is not a
the
producer.
Eggplant emoji is emoji that's often sent a lot,
of course,
between each other.
Yeah, of course. Or the 18, nothing under 18. If I'm not joking.
Whenever in my friendship group, one of my friends, whenever he does this emoji, like all good emoji, he always puts a finger and then like watermarked.
Oh yeah. Or somebody's being a sarcastic prick when you send something, or my brother, I'll do it too, but he'll send the thumbs up. That shit pisses me off.
Yeah, it's like cool.
That's like, yeah, okay, buddy. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, you're like,
thanks for coming out.
Yeah. No, but like what's great is that like Adrian, like I'm the physical producer in ways of I run all the equipment. I mean, I play keyboards, I play piano, so I physically run shit. I could come up with melody ideas here and there, but he's the master at the melodies and the vocals and the writing part. So it's always been a really good relationship because I'm not trying to be, even though we're 80 Empire, I'm not trying to be the front man in ways of take a microphone and start belting out verses and these high note choruses and shit that he does. I like where my position is, where I'm the beat guy. I'm playing keys and I'm making the drums, but then he'll come in and go, I can't play it, but I hear a sound, like I hear this or whatever the hell it is.
And the thing is,
it's a good yin and yang that why we were able to create so well together, because we both, it's like superheroes. We both have our, one's Superman, one's Batman, one's, you know what I mean? We both kind of bring our own shit to the table that always seems to gel.
Well, it sounds like I think the best part is the communication is the best, because like there's no bullshit. Like there's no like, company or like, corporate speak. There's like, all right, let's just get this shit done. And I feel like sometimes people get caught up in protecting their image while working on a project rather than going, hey, let's just make the best project we can make.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you a quick story. Like when we did before our name was 80 Empire, we did the first single off of Obi Trice's third album when he was, when he left Shady. It was called Battle Cry, the song. And it says featuring Adrian Retza. So he didn't want me on that. He took my name off. So it says produced by Lucas Retza in the credits, but the main list said Adrian, and I couldn't give a shit. I was like, it's you and me. Like, you know what I mean? It's us. Like it says your name. I couldn't care less. But we had an original song that we had done with Obi that we hadn't heard from Obi in a long time. So we were like, are you using the track or whatever? Didn't hear from him. We that we got interest from a label, which ended up being, it didn't happen, but we got interest from a major label with a major artist that wanted to use the track and Adrian singing the hook. So like, go figure, Murphy's Law. As soon as we said, okay, you know what? I haven't heard from him. I've sent countless texts, emails, voice messages. Maybe he's gone ghost. Something's up. Forget it.
And so a song was sitting for 4 years. So
it was
not
sitting
like, it's just 4 months. Like,
it's not 4 months. We're talking
time. So we figured, I don't think Obi's going to use it.
Yeah, it was a couple of years. You know what I mean? So we're like, okay, it's obviously, give it to this person. They start recording it or whatever. And this person's not even in the industry anymore anyways.
Who was it, if you don't mind me asking?
Sorry?
Who was it?
It was a rapper called Rima Major who was signed to Interscope, but we were told, I'm not going to say the guy's name from Interscope, but we were like, yo, she's in the studio right now, and I think 50 Cent is going to jump on it. But these were legitimate people that we were dealing with, that were at Interscope and Universal. So it's not like we were just, dealing with, a best friend's uncle who's a janitor but knows Fat Joe or some shit. Like, these were real people. So my brother and I, like, yo, man, like, this could be, because he's like, no, you can't we need that record. She needs it. You don't understand, because 50's heard it. And so my brother and I, like, this could be, and it was all like,
it was a manager just pulling bullshit. They were in the studio and they were going to record the song, but there was no 50 Cent. It was all bullshit. But, you know, when you, and like Adrian said, it wasn't like, you know, only a couple of months had gone by. We're talking about, you know, he had recorded it for a couple of years before that. And then I haven't heard from you in over a year. We're thinking, okay, like obviously something's up. We got to move on. So long story short, Murphy's all of a sudden, like a week after, yo, I want to use a record and we're going to do this and that. We're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, so I said, no, like we, and he was like, oh, fuck that. I go, listen, Adrian and I will make you a new song. Trust us. Let us make you even a better song. Nah, man, fuck that. You know, all this. I said, please just give us a couple hours. I promise you, I will make you a better song. Out comes Battle Cry. I sent it to him, calls me up, you know, a lot of N-words, you know. Oh shit, oh man, you don't know that fucking track. Oh shit, I ain't even mad at you. I was gonna fuck you up before. Now I'm gonna hug you motherfuckers because yo, and that was his first.
And Aaron, but let me tell you this. So then months later, we went to Detroit and we were at a party. They called this place the Mansion in a suburb of Detroit, and like 4 or 5 producer kids like bought this mansion or worked out of this place. And so there was a party there, and Obi invited us. And then I'm upstairs by the DJ. Shit, I forget his name, but he produced a lot of shit for Big Sean and stuff. We're all talking. And then Obi comes up to me and he's like, yo, Adrian, man, let me tell you something. Luke, when I got a problem in the hood, I'm calling Luke, man, because he was gangster with me. You know, like when I was like calling him every name in the book, and then blah, 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 blah. Luke held his ground. So he's like, yo, Luke, I'm bringing you to, you know, next time I got shit in the streets. So, and then we've been friends with Obi ever since, man, and developed a close relationship with Swifty McVeigh. Like Swifty's on the album. We put out an album with Swifty last year, and we have like another like 25, 26 song album with Swifty. And it's really about like growing up in Detroit. You know, Eminem talks about 8 Mile, but like 7 Mile is, we've learned so much. Like 7 Mile is where like Trick and a lot of D12 grew up. And we're learning about all the lingo. Like even with the show on like, I don't know if they have it, like if there's, because obviously different regions of the world, things come either earlier or later, but like the BMF series, that's on Starz Amazon about Big Meech and the Black Mafia family. There's certain things in there that like I hear in Swifty's rap. So like I went back and like talking to him about it. He's like, yeah, man, BK stands for like the Black Killers and this and that. And it's just like, holy crow, I'm watching this biographical TV series and shit that Swifty is saying, like certain lingo is in the music that we just did for him. This album is probably going to come out in the spring or summer. So it's anyway, that's another story.
Tangent, but to reel it back, you know, bring that shit back for Adrian and I work good under that pressure. We have like an understanding, like, all right, we need to come correct with something bigger than that track that he liked, you know, and it worked. Like, and we feed off of that kind of shit. Like, we don't need to like, oh, let's go for a walk and get inspired by the name. Now let's just get in the fucking booth, put on a good beat, and let's go. Let's work. Like that's our inspiration. Like him getting mad at me was our inspiration to go. I'm gonna make you feel. I'm gonna make you eat your words and give you a better track. And luckily it worked out, like we did. You know, and that was his first track coming back under, you know, being independent after leaving Shady. So, and Eminem was still on the album and they're still friends and shit like that. So it was cool that the story behind it, but it was also Battle Cry. Like you gotta keep going even through the darkness. And his darkness was, you know, getting like, you know, leaving Shady and kind of starting from the bottom again as an independent. So
it sounds like you guys are very competitive, because I'm competitive. So when someone's like, no, you can't do better than this. It's like, oh yeah, fuck you. I can. Let me show you how much better I can do.
Yeah.
We are the hip hop and music. And like, this is a sport. It's a contact sport and it's a competitive sport. And we really do thrive off of that, because we've had so many people like, nah, you won't be able to play on Shade 45, or no, man, they're going to want this much and that much. And we're like, yo, DJ Premier just played 5 records off of Legacy, and he just played We Run Shit, and he played Salute Me off of this new album. So it's just like, you just told us we can't get it done, and we're getting it done. And I think, again, like, the message is like mind over matter, and just like, yeah, people are gonna say you can't get it done, but you just have to make it work. That's the thing. And I think it just comes down to our upbringing. Like, our parents, our grandparents always just found a way to make shit work, even when everything was stacked against, it stacked against it for it not to work. And I think that even though we're not immigrants, we are still recipients and have absorbed that immigrant culture, because our parents were immigrants, our grandparents. And when you come to a new country, you don't speak the language. You don't have all the amenities and all of the, your hands in the best of educations and all of these opportunities. You have to create opportunity. And although we lived a very different life than our parents and our grandparents, we still, that work ethic and that kind of like coming from shit and turning shit into a dollar bill, like that, that still mentality is still in our DNA, because our family, it comes from that.
Well, I have the same thing. I'm first generation. So my family is Russian. So like my parents came here. And I remember my babushka, my grandmother, I spoke to her recently, and she was like, I came here, 2 kids by myself, can't speak English, $100 in my pocket. That's it. That's how, and there's something unsaid about the immigrant mindset, because I 100% agree. And I try to explain it to people who don't come from that type of background, to be like, you got to understand that when you're brought up like that, the attitude is you get through it. The attitude is, this is not the end place. You just got to shut up, get to work. Life sucks right now, but you cannot stop. When you stop, that's when it's over. And like, absolutely, they lived a way harder life than I lived. I always say it, like, I consider myself extremely fortunate, but those lessons, those life lessons of like mindset, that's the thing that I'm always like,
like you might have grown up in in Australia, but like, it is Australia, right?
Yeah.
But that Russian is in you, man. It's in your DNA. It's in your blood. That hard work ethic. Like, it doesn't matter how friggin' early it is, how friggin' cold it is. You're getting up and you're grinding, man, to provide for you and provide for your family. That's just, there's no other way,
But it's like you said, they pass on that work ethic. Like, you and I always never gave up on shit. We should have quit a long time ago, this business, because it was always, there is, it's changed now where you could just, everything can be paid for and everything could look big. And if you have money, you know what I mean? But the amount of doors that closed on us are far bigger than the doors that opened. But the doors that opened, we took advantage of it to open more doors and to keep going. Most people would have quit after the shit that we've been through as artists and producers and things like that. But we keep going. And when you get those wins, like at KRS and these kind of things, you keep going. But it's the, like you said, it's that work ethic. It's coming. It's like starting with nothing and going, fuck, look what we did. Like, I gotta just now, I mean, before we got on the call, there's like COVID cases in my son's class. So we gotta, Christmas is fucking, that's it. It's done. No Christmas. We can't get together. It is what it is. Like, what can you do? We've been down this, everybody's been down the road. He was in the hospital. I remember, 3 weeks into the hospital, he's going, I can send me the MC8 verse. We just got it, and he's in with oxygen and shit.
I've got the tubes in my nose. And I'm like, I still want to hear MC8.
You want to hear it. You know what I mean? You survive and you and you do what you do, right? Actually, being that you're Russian, and we always joke, because a good friend of ours, Fatty Soprano, he's a great film director and videographer, and he's done a bunch of our videos and stuff like that.
But he was actually born in Russia. He came to Canada when he was 10 years old. But
yeah, Leo is his real name. And every time, like right now, the weather's getting cold and everybody's, as Canadians, are bitching. So me and him, we get on the phone, we go, Mother Russia, this is summertime. We wear no shirts. We jump in the water. This is nothing. Come on, bro. It's like people are complaining. It's so cold out. What you talking about? Nostrovia, let's go.
He's actually Fatty. That's his, director name. But we're
Leo.
doing a we're putting together a short film for Anthems and Icons. And we're going to chronicle different people, creative people, and kind of their struggle, and then mix it in with our performance footage. Right now, because of, I could hop on a plane now. I'm still, because of how severe, like I don't even want to see severe, but I stopped taking blood thinners at the end of August. And so right now, I don't really want to jump on a plane. In New York City, we're an hour away, but to go to Los Angeles is a 5-hour flight, and just the cases are rising again. So we would love to go to we would love to go and do all of these videos in the States with all of these guys, because they're all down to do it, but we want to be able to be there to facilitate it. Because once you start saying, hey guys, then it's too many people. But anyway, to make a long story short, with Fatty, so we're doing this, he's directing it, and we're going to put together a 10-minute short film with the album. But he's a solid as they come. He's done a lot of, he did the video for our record with Conway. It's the hockey video, and it's young African Canadian hockey players in the video. He did that video. He did the one with the fit-in video with Fred, and because Fred had passed away, we did Bishop Lamont, everyone did their verses, cell phone footage and stuff. So he's really great at what he does, Fatty.
Well, do you know, he sounds like, and what you guys are saying, it reminds me of my babushka, who said, you know what, if you die, you die. That's the mentality. That's like, you cannot hide at home and you cannot be scared, because life is short. And these days, and it's so funny because my grandma, when she was in Russia, she was like, they didn't have things at supermarkets. When she was a young woman and a little girl, she was like, I remember there was nothing in supermarkets. So what you had to do was you had to make deals it was like the black market. So a butcher and you're a bread maker, you hold a piece of bread in your store at the back and you trade it. And so that's what they were living. So when we ran out of toilet paper, she was like, I don't understand. Why toilet paper? Out of everything that matters. And I remember going to supermarkets and the meat disappeared. I literally go to the Asian grocery store, filled to the brims. And I was like, this is not real panic. This is just white people going, just overreacting. It was crazy to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I said the same thing. My wife is Asian. She's half Chinese, half Cambodian. And I'm like, yeah, wife. It's like, when did the news say COVID makes you shit your pants? When everybody was taking this shit. And it's like you're right, and I'm just going what is going on? And even with listen, it sucks, being stuck in the house. Obviously, we're all at this point. I think we're all fed up, But I remember when it was 4 days in, and people were like, "I can't take this. I'm going nuts." I'm like, how about our grandparents that were in world wars, and there was no internet. There was no Netflix.
Listen,
no
we know what
Prime Video. There was bombs, fucking dropping shit, and it's I
Aaron,
get it.
We know a guy. His name is Mario Machete. Shout out to Mario. We met him 3 years ago, just before the pandemic. We went down. This is a video we did for this rapper Ballistic from Buffalo, and then we got Nems on the record. We produced it, and then we're like, we got to go down to Coney Island and do the video. And so all these other cats came, these guys, Crime Faces, who do all this fight commentary. Now they're doing all the fight commentaries for Triller and all this stuff. But they manage also this Mario, who 27 years ago was put into prison for a murder he did not do. Okay? And this is the tie-in, the hip-hop tie-in. The person that said that he did it was Bushwick Bill from Ghetto Boys, because Bushwick is in Brooklyn, right? Bushwick, Brooklyn. Bushwick Bill soon after that moved to Texas, you know? And so Mario, when Bushwick died, like Mario said, he goes, I just would have loved before, because he died of cancer, Bushwick Bill, because I just would have loved for him to have been vindicated. But he went to prison for 27 years for something he did not do. He goes, listen, when I was a kid, I wasn't an angel. I did shit, but I didn't do murder. So imagine that guy like going to prison for 20 years, and like people have to stay at home, and people are going nuts and losing their minds. But this guy went to prison for 27 years for shit he never did. Like, and he's still, when we met him, the most positive, uplifting, upbeat person. And if anybody could be like a Debbie Downer, a negative, could be him, and think like, yo, man, the world has done me wrong. And he's like, no, bro, every day's a blessing. And it's just what a breath of fresh air, man. Like, truthfully.
And unfortunately, he's not the only one. There are plenty of wrongfully incarcerated people.
Tons.
Like,
Thousands.
There's so many. I mean, there are still people incarcerated for weed dealing, even though weed is now legal, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Because
it makes no sense when every soccer mom now is sitting at home with edibles going, oh, honey, we're going to have quite the party tonight. Right. And these guys are in jail for fucking like life.
And well, now the government is selling it, it's bullshit. It's
in
bullshit.
Canada, they're going to, they've opened up legal, like government run weed stores.
Dispensaries.
I understand. Honestly, like, I personally don't smoke weed. Like, I've tried weed. Like, it's just not something that I've done very often. But like,
same with us, man.
It makes, like, to me, it makes no logical sense. Regardless of where you sit on the fence, is like, it is now legal. So what they did, it doesn't make sense to keep them there. Like, and you hurt them. Like, it's literally just punishing them now, and the government is now taking a cut from it, which also makes sense from me anyway, that it should be an industry that is regulated, but like, it's crazy. Like, it feels like there's no logic applied. It's just like, we're just going to forget they exist.
It's horrible, man.
It's horrible.
And it's just like, when you go into that setting, if you weren't a hardened criminal, you become a hardened criminal, because now you're dealing with all these other circumstances. It's survival. It's not like you checked into the Holiday Inn, like, and especially depending on what type of prison it is, maximum, like it's, and so it's, man, it's we live in such an unjust, like, it's very unjust. There's so many things that make my blood boil, but like, you know what I mean? You could go to petition.org and all of these things, but it's just like, it sucks. Like, that's someone's brother, that's someone's father, someone's sister, uncle, and they lose a whole lifetime of living because of bullshit laws,
And the crazy thing is, this is the best time to be alive as a human. This is the best time. Like, life was way worse before. Like, at least now we're aware of these things, but like, the internet has changed the game. Our ability to speak, you're in Canada, I'm in Australia, we can have this discussion. Whereas like before, you have some atrocities done to you, you don't hear about it. Like, that was life then. So there's like, I can see the good and the bad. The bad is that it's still happening. The good is that we can talk about it.
Absolutely. And we could create more awareness, even if it's in baby steps, but at least we're aware. No, I agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Well, gents, I did want to also touch on one song that you guys did, and it is, I think it's called Black Cat, and it's Italian. It is Italian. And if anyone hasn't checked it out, it's on YouTube. It's an old video. I think it came out in 2009. And
we were thin. Yeah, and we were thin back then.
No beards. You guys are clean cut. I think everyone is like that. COVID hits and we all put on weight. But I'm just so, because it was the last video I was expecting. I'm so interested in how that came about.
Absolutely. It's a funny story. So we always have done hip hop music. We've always been like, we started off in a band with our cousin. And so we were like the Italian roots, we'd go to like Battle of the Bands where it was all rockers and we were the only guys doing rap and reggae with a band, but then my brother and I were signed to these guys called Top Cat. They were an independent company. back in the early 2000s, and we were getting radio play and everything, and it was R&B and rap and stuff like that. Then whatever, it just, you know, they were kind of shutting down shop. So my brother and I, like, it was just, that was our window to leave, because they were just, stuff was going down with them as a company. And then my brother and I went to Chris Smith. Now, Chris Smith managed Nelly Furtado. He now manages Alicia Cara. And we went there, and I made the mistake of saying, because we're showing them all of this rap music, but they loved our like soul music, because we could do soul music too. Like, you know, we were in like the Al Green, Marvin Gaye, like that type of soul music. So we were showing them all of this stuff. One of the A&R guys there is like, this is incredible. And then he started going, yo, what languages do you guys speak? And we said, well, you know, obviously growing up in Canada, it's a bilingual country. We speak French, we're Italian, we speak Italian. And he goes, hold on, Italian, you got to do this shit in Italian. So we ended up going and doing a showcase. At the time, his name was Randy. Luke, what's Randy's last name?
Randy Lennox.
Randy Lennox was the president of Universal Canada. We did a showcase at Universal for him. There was this other guy, Martin Keisenbaum, who started Cherry Tree Records at Interscope back in the day. So he had Akon sign in, Lady Gaga, Black, all these people. He just happened to be there. We were singing. Everybody loved it. A week later, they sent us to Italy, to Milan, Italy, and we sang in front of Universal Italy. They loved it too, but they're like, the colloquialisms are off. And you know, Aaron, like growing up in Australia, like something that slang that you say with your friends growing up, we might not understand what, even though we're both speaking English, we might not understand what the hell it is.
My parents don't even understand it.
There you go. There you go. So when we translate, even though we speak Italian, you know, colloquialisms are never going to translate exactly. So Universal Italy were like, guys, we love it. You guys look the part. This is going to be so cool. We just have to fix some of the words. My brother and I were ready to move to Italy. And we were signed to Universal Canada. Interscope was getting involved. And then when we get back to the hotel, Martin, who's this big wig from LA, who also came because he saw us by chance, happened to be at our showcase in Canada, also flew to Italy. He's like, listen, guys, here's my cell number. If shit doesn't, go according to plan, call me. But my brother and I are loyal. We're like, we're going to start dealing with the Interscope guy. Like, our management's going to that's a rat move to do, right? Like, so my brother and I were loyal to a fault. 4 years went by, and we did jack shit, nothing. And then finally, we just got fed up, and we just left them an email saying, we're releasing you as management in the record label. Like, you're not interested in putting our shit out after we've recorded hundreds and hundreds of songs at our own studio, But I said to Lucas, we got signed to do this shit, and for them to put this out, they wanted us to be like an Il Divo, but not classical and not pop. For us to be a little bit more urban, but like
the R&B, yeah, the
R&B soul, I said to Lucas, I'm like, we have to finish this off and do it, because I don't like that we've wasted 4 years of our life. They did shit all for us, and then we don't have anything to show for it. So we just finished this Italian album, and we were very heavily influenced by the kind of European sound. And then that's how that song, it was actually done at my uncle's pizzeria. He's retired now. And we did it like Got That Enemy.
Well, and it was also like a fuck you. Like we fired you as management because you did nothing for us. And, having a quote unquote A-list manager means nothing if they're not doing anything for you. So we said, fuck it. We put out a video, we put the album out, we made CDs, we're done. Now let's go back to what they were trying to hinder us from the jump. Like, don't do your hip hop. Like, do this. And we love R&B and we love soul music too. We have even projects, in the pipeline that are more like real soulful stuff, mixed with the hip hop. But it was like they were trying to hinder us. So it was like to prove a point. We're like, no, we're putting this shit out independently, as we always do. And then kind of through that started Gladiator, and why we call ourselves Gladiator Records, because it was like, no one's gonna do this again to us. No one's gonna make us
Obi
sit.
heard our Italian shit. And
But
it's
Obi
funny.
heard the Italian shit, and that's what sparked him to go, I'll fuck with y'all. You know, he heard this one track that was on our MySpace, and he goes, man, you put some hip hop in this? Yo, man, that shit's fire.
Bone Crusher, Ali Vegas, all these guys, like even Keith Murray. We were supposed to do some shit around that time frame with Keith Murray. And he's like, and it's funny because Lucas and I look back on that and like, we respect what we did. It's not nothing that we would be doing now. You know, the style, it's nowhere near remotely what we'd be doing now. But like, even a Keith Murray, it's like, yo, this is dope, man. Y'all know how to rap and sing, and y'all doing this shit in Italian and English. I'm gonna send this shit to Eric Sermon. But again, the music industry, everybody's fate. Then like Keith Murray like disappeared, like Robinson Crusoe. So
but recently,
yeah,
like
man, that's a story.
Funny story about Keith Murray, because a year and a half ago, I DM'd him on Instagram. I said, man, that verse you did for us was incredible. Thank you. And he didn't give us a verse. I was just being like an ass, right? And he messaged me right away. Yo, fam, no, I got you. I'm sorry. I'm like, don't worry about it, dude. I go, it's been fucking like 8 years. We're kind of past. We're kind of past like caring at this point, you know. And he goes, I got you. Just, you know, can you do it? I go, you want to give me a verse? All right, here's my email. I still haven't. I said, but I go, you know, much love, brother. But it's, you know, I still love it. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. It's just like that. That's still a classic. But I said, it's all right, dude. It's all good, you know. But yeah, that's the Gatanera, the Black Cat story.
It was just so interesting to listen to because it was the last thing I expected. Like it was just, and it's surprisingly good. That's what I will say. It's surprisingly good because I always fear whenever rappers sing, like that's one of my big fears is like, oh no, someone didn't tell you to shut up. Someone just let your ego take over and you cannot sing, but you've got this weird hook just because they were like, oh, we need an R&B and you just decided to do it randomly. But you both have good voices. So I was pleasantly surprised because goddamn, I feel like there are so many that just don't understand. They don't have a voice for singing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like people have to play their position, you know, like for example, we put out this record called Fairy Tales with a rapper RX and Chino. And the rapper RX was like I'm just lightly singing on the hook. And on his album that we produced for him, I'm rapping on a couple other songs, you know, and doing some hooks. And he's like, yo, man, you got to rap. Chino did his thing. I'm like, yo, Chino XL is Chino XL. I'm not going to sit here for like a week, you know, I'm just using that as like, and try to outdo Chino XL. That guy's a master at the double time. Never. Like, I can rap fast, but it's just like, I'm comfortable enough in what I do that I don't have to, if we're involved in a project and it's a project with someone else, I'm comfortable enough with my position that now I don't feel like, you know, I got to puff up my chest and I have to try to outdo, like that's what Chino does. So I'm not going to try to outdo someone who's the king. It's like someone who makes leather shoes and I make suede, I don't know, shoes out of Velcro. And now I'm trying to make leather shoes. Like, no, let the fucking leather shoemaker do his thing, man. I'm good at the Velcro, and I'm even.
It's like a friend of ours, Ali Vegas. You know, put on a project. He put out a project. I forget when it was. I don't know if it was the summertime or I think it was the summer, beginning of summer, spring, or something like that. And it was produced exclusively by Shaw Money XL. And Vegas, we have a lot of tracks, unreleased tracks where, you know, I produced everything. Adrian's singing all the hooks and stuff like that. He even wanted an Italian hook. Goes way back around that time when we were doing that stuff. I didn't do it. I didn't do a single thing on the 2 tracks that are on his album where Adrian's singing. I didn't produce nothing. I just engineered it. But I know my position. Like it's 80 Empire. Whether I produce it and Adrian didn't sing a single thing. and he came over and went, yo, I like that beat. Don't send that one. That one's kind of I know this guy's gonna like that beat instead, or add this little tinging sound, or
last year,
or Adrian singing, and I go, Adrian, add that harmony in there. That extra harmony sounds good. It's, you know what, I know my position as well, where I don't have to produce everything for it to be, you know, if Dr. Dre wants Adrian on a hook and doesn't want me for shit, that's Dr. Dre. Hey, can I just sit in and listen? Like, let me just, you know what I mean? Like,
well, around January and February of this year, we had the opportunity. We produced this record for Benny the Butcher and this guy One Shot Ace. So I think the song's gonna finally come out in the new year. I didn't do a damn thing, like, because sometimes I'm not pressing buttons, but I might bring a sample. I'm like, Lucas, I think we should use sample. I think you should do this, you know. But Lucas did the whole thing, but it's still me, because it's like we're like it's, you know what I mean? It's, and we're, and that's the, again, back to your brother question. That's the great thing about brothers is it's us. It's just like, you know, if you really, family who really loves each other is proud of their family's accomplishments and feel like it's their own accomplishment, even if they didn't write the essay, even if they didn't write the exam, or they didn't get the law school, or they didn't build the house, or whatever the shit may be. And so the same with, you know, with us, it's the same thing, you know.
Well, look at us going full circle. It's almost like this interview was planned, like we knew exactly where it was going to go. And I love that sentiment. But my last question for you guys is probably the only question that I plan, probably going to be the hardest question that I ask. But I'll get a different answer for each of you, or you can answer as AD Empire. Up to you. I'm interested to see which way you go. But if you had to recommend one album that everybody should listen to at least once to get an appreciation of, it can't be your own music, it can be any genre, what would it be?
Ooh. I think, shit. You know what? I think what's going on, Marvin Gaye, that whole album, because I think, you know, as a human race, we're so self-destructive, and what he was talking about in the 60s is still going on today. Mama, mama, there's too many of us dying. I mean, especially on this side of the earth, you know, like my brother and I dress like this. We go out. We have the advantage that our skin is, our complexion is light. So we are not accosted by the police like our black friends and peers are because of their color of skin. And the shit that Marvin Gaye's talking about in that album, it's still going on. And I hate to say it, like the way we are as humans, it's probably going to go on for another 100 years if the world doesn't implode. So I just think that's a quintessential album for people to just hear, like sheer musicianship and but just like a message, like it's just a universal theme, you know, in that album. So I'd recommend that album by Marvin Gaye.
This is hard because I have so many, hard. But
Tupac was going to be my second one. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Which one?
Tupac, All Eyes on Me, I think was going to be my.
I'm going to say, because it had such a profound effect on me as a producer, will be Chronic 2001. I just feel like the whole album from front to end, you know, there was one or two maybe gap fillers where you listen to it, but for like, I mean, there was like smash after smash. And I was always influenced by that West Coast sound, even though there's so many East Coast records, probably more records I like from the East Coast, but I was heavily influenced with that, having like a live bass player on a big dude, and because I'm a keyboard player, a lot of production when I was younger, I would always do like the Dre chords and try to create that kind of thing. So I would say, and then I bought the instrumental, where it was that was the only album I think to date in hip hop, or at the time, to come out, where Dre came out with the instrumental album where you could just bang that shit in your car. And I remember when that and I would try to sample a drum kit here or there. I could never, because it was so in your face. So for me personally, I think that would be the Chronic album, and then and a second close would be Nas. like just what he did.
Illmatic.
Illmatic. Like it's hard for me, but I'll go with my gut and I'll go with Dre for that. But then the songs from the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder, songs from the Key of Life was, oh God, no, I'll stick with Dre. I'm sticking with Dre.
Well, I think both fantastic choices. It's so interesting to me, whoever anyone chooses. Like it honestly now, 70 plus episodes. I think it's 80 plus episodes. People will have a long catalog to go through in terms of people's choices. And, I agree with you both in both your sentiments as well. And that's the thing I love about hip hop is you can listen to 90s hip hop and they're talking about the same things that are still happen. You talk about listen to 80s hip hop and it's exactly the same thing. And it's so weird to be like, the Black Lives Matter movement is just a reciprocation of everything that was being discussed 30 years ago. It's exactly the same. It hasn't changed. And that's the weird thing is like, I feel like people sometimes and people who are not into hip hop misinterpret what hip hop actually is and what it stands for, rather than they see the bling and they see, the imagery and they see, the violence and they see that, what you see on the news is the sexy stuff that people like to talk about. What they're not seeing is all the messaging behind it.
Absolutely.
Big time. If people listen to the lyrics, they would understand, like really listen to it. Cause people don't, oh, that's just garbage. And I'm not, no, when you listen to what they're talking about, man, it's some real shit. They're talking about real stories. You're closed-minded that you hear it. It's loud. You hear the N word, you hear the F word and all the shit. And you're fucking going, nah, no, it's not for me. Well, you could say the same thing about rock music, but if you get past if somebody has a stereotype on heavy metal guitars and yelling and you listen to what some of these guys are saying, it's some deep shit. It's the same thing. Really take it for what it is. Like you said, James Brown was rapping in 1968 saying, say loud, I'm black and I'm proud. That's, and not much has changed from what Marvin Gaye was saying, what James Brown was saying, what NWA were saying in 1989. Fuck, it's 2021. And really, technology has advanced, but have we really advanced as human beings? I don't know. Maybe I'm being a fatalist right now, but I don't know. I think we have. I think this younger generation have more of a tolerance for individuality and expression. I think that's great. And hopefully, you know what I mean? But
it's hard to unhate or unteach hate. It becomes such it becomes so much of what people are, and especially in the United States, really anywhere in the world, it's really hard to like that's the thing with us. Like we've been very lucky that our parents, like, first of all, we're in biracial relationship. My wife is half Trinidadian, half German, but on the German side, there's a little bit of Russian, there's a little bit of Ukrainian, like on the, because back then, people were escaping Germany and going to Russia or vice versa, but my kids are blonde and blue-eyed, but my wife's mom is Trinidadian, you know what I mean? And I've got the Mediterranean skin, but I just think we've been very lucky, Lucas and I, to grow up in a household where our parents, like, we never were raised with our parents saying, don't hang around that person because they're not Italian, or because they're Jewish, or because they're Muslim, or because they're Hindu, or because they're black, or because they're Asian. Like, we just grew up in a very loving and accepting household. Thank goodness, because we're like that as people, man. We look at the good in people. Like, you don't have to be Canadian or Italian to be our friend. If you're a good person, we don't give a shit where you're from, who you are. Like, you're invited at our dinner table. It's just as long as you stand for good. Like, if you're an asshole, you could be the most Italian person. If you're a racist, screw you, man. Like, we don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't care if your last name ends in a vowel. It doesn't mean that, we might have similar last names.
Half of our family members are assholes. So
yeah, man. We might have similar last names, but it doesn't mean that we have the same ideologies. It's a totally different thing.
I think exposure is the big thing. Like, everything that I hear is like, when you grow up with people from different backgrounds, you are more accepting and more tolerant because
exactly.
It's not the different. You see the similarities, you see the same, because I think inherently people are generally, we're all similar in a way.
Absolutely.
We're all so
Absolutely.
similar. And so
Absolutely.
when you're exposed to different cultures, you're like, oh, I see how similar you are to me, because the things that your family does, I do, but slightly differently. And like, we can talk and it's like you're learning. Like, I love Italians and Greeks because they're so similar to Russians, like in terms of mindset and stuff like that. Like, it's interesting to me, but it's the same with everybody. And, you know, it's just, and there's an amazing podcast I listened to like 5 years ago or something. Joe Rogan, everyone hates when anyone brings up Joe Rogan, but he interviewed a guy, and I think he was an R&B singer, a soul singer. And he became an African-American guy, and he started talking to KKK people, and he actually converts KKK members out of the KKK. And
I remember that. Yeah.
Amazing. I honestly forget what his name was, but one of the best interviews I've ever heard, because he was like, the difference between people who aren't racist is like, they're just exposed to it. They've met, you know, African-Americans, they've met people from different cultures. And when you meet someone, it's very difficult to hate them, because because it's not about them anymore. It's become a human rather than a symbol. And I think that's the real benefit of where we are, is like, we're getting exposed to more things. And, you know, look at us, we're white guys in hip hop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really is, it really is like that exposure, and it's just a mind state, you know, a state of mind. You know, and it comes down to education, and also like exposing, like, again, like, you know, just speaking of you being Russian, like I remember when we were kids going to a Russian restaurant, and they had all these Cossack dancers, and we were the only Italian kids who knew what the hell a Cossack dancer was, because our parents brought us to a Russian restaurant where most of the Italian kids in the neighborhood didn't go anywhere. They didn't go anywhere. They spaghetti and meatballs in their basement. And that's not stereotyping. We could say that because we're Italian, because that was the mindset of a lot of Italian immigrants that came to Toronto. Like, okay, you just kind of eat your own food and you just kind of sit in your own basement and this and that. But our parents, even though they came from that, you know, my parents were very they were very cultured and loved the arts. And our parents loved Black music. So they were the ones who, as kids, like, you know, our dad would bring home soul records and hip hop records. We used to watch BET with our mom in high school, and friends would come over and they're like, yo, your mom, like, you know, so it's just, we're lucky. Like, you know, when Bone Crusher, the last time he came to Canada, he stayed at Luke's house. He met our mom. Like, we call our mom Gangster P. Like, yo, what up, Gangster P? So it's just, we grew up very like accepting of different, we weren't exposed in a good way to cultures. And that's
if you're a nice person, it's because you're a nice person. If you're a piece of shit, it's because you're a piece of shit. It has nothing to do with your ethnicity, your religion, your choices. As long as your choices are good and not of hate, you're good in my books. I don't give a shit who you love, what you love, how you love it. As long as you love it with love and respect, and you're a good person.
One love.
What? Yeah.
I think there's no better way to end than that. Obviously, I appreciate you both coming on the show. 80 Empire, absolutely fantastic to speak with you both. As we said, kicking some amazing goals, working with some unbelievable artists. If you haven't heard their most recent album, please make sure you check it out. Projects are coming. They are definitely coming, as we heard. You know, you guys are absolutely nailing it, and you're getting some recognition as you both deserve. But is there anything else you both wanted to plug, or anything you wanted to shout out before we finish up?
You know what, man? Aaron, thank you to having us on your platform, man, because we don't take it lightly. You know, you're all the way on the other, like you said, like because of the internet and stuff, you're on the other side of the world, and you took the time to find our project and to inquire about having us on your show. So, you know what, man? Shout out to you.
Shout out to you for having us on. Yeah.
Yeah. For doing your thing and for having us on to talk about what we do, man. We really appreciate it.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure. And also, hopefully you feel better, and hopefully you can, 5-hour flight sounds long, but maybe you can come down to Australia. I think it's like 18 hours. It's going to be a big flight.
You know what?
I'd love to.
My wife has family down there.
So does my wife.
So does Adrian's wife. So we'd love to, I would love to. That's a place that I want.
We'll all go watch Joe Avati together.
Yeah. No, we'll do this the next podcast with you. We'll do it in person.
Let's do it. I've got the studio ready to go. I've got the couch
man.
for you both. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait. And as I said, absolute pleasure.
Thank you,
Aaron. Pleasure was ours.